welcome back onto Woodland Bunny. Today I have a very belated September wrap up for you all. My house has been getting in the way of absolutely everything at the moment, but I'm feeling well enough today to film and sit down and do a little video. So what better way to do and then wrap up my September reads? So let's get to it. As always, I have my script here of all of the books and the themes I noted down. I cannot ever remember every single theme in which I use to describe a book, so I've written it down here and then we'll be telling you all because I think that's an easy way to do it. But beginning as always with the stats. Here are the stats on the screen. So let's get into the actual books, the themes that I wrote down to describe them all, and hopefully you pick up some gems along the way / some book recommendations. So let's get to it. As always, beginning from lowest to highest rated, and my good tier, we have A Cup of Sake Beneath the Cherry Trees. The themes I noted down for this one include snippets of life, Buddhist teachings, and linked musings. Felt like a commonplace book and needed to reread to properly digest it. This was one of the little black classics that I read, and it was the first little black classic I dived into, and I was kind of blown away with how it was written. I adored every single little snippet of this book, and I found it so interesting how these musings just hit me in the heart, and it had these Buddhist teaching ways woven into it. And like I say, I definitely think I need to reread this one multiple times to get the full amount of effect that you're supposed to and the impact out of this one. But if you're looking for a short, sharp, quick read full of book that gives you meaning to life / gives you things to think about, then I highly recommend this one. We have 84 Charing Cross Road, in which is a non-fiction, and I did not realise this one until I got to the end of it and I read the little blurb at the back, and it said that this was like a non-fiction reaccountment of letters written, and that is the format that this book is told in. And I did not know that this was non-fiction because it just felt so fiction-esque and so wholesome and full of a book lover and communication and the actual real life events that were happening and the difference in culture. And what else did I write down here? Oh yeah, letter formatting that I said. Love for a bookshop, feeling connected to people even though you've never met them, and snippets of very different lifestyles. I feel as though this was quite reminiscent of what social media is to us now. These letters going back and forth, you feel as though you truly know someone, but they have all of these ongoings that you don't see and that you won't write about in a letter unless somebody told you. And I feel like that's so true with social media, is you can be so perceived online and you put out what you want to put out, not necessarily all of the troublesomes and heartache and break that you have going on in your life. And I think it was just a really important reminder for me, as someone who adores making content as well as consuming it, that social media isn't all what you see, and it's been like this throughout the whole of life in terms of writing letters backwards and forwards and all that kind of aspect, I suppose. So yes, a brilliant read, and I highly recommend it for every single book lover out there. We have Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop. Sorry if I completely mispronounced that, but this is translated Korean fiction. It has aspects of healing in it, bookshops and book lovers, community, snippets into people's lives and struggles, the mundanity and realistic natures of everyday with hopeful notes. I loved how this book followed so many different people and so many different elements that these people were going through and aspects that they were going on with in life. What is going on with my necklace? I loved the breadth of people that this book included, and like I say, there's the struggles that these people were going through and how they were dealing with them, and how this bookshop was so healing in so many different manners, and the interconnectedness that a bookshop brings to a community. And it was just kind of classic Korean / Japanese fiction in terms of it being filled with mundanity and lessons on top of that, and it just being so interesting because it's just so stark contrast to how I operate in my life and how I approach things. And it was such a good reminder to appreciate things and just to not take things for granted, and certain elements of my life that the characters were struggling with that I sort of take for granted, I guess. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love these kind of fiction books, and will devour them as I did with this one. We have the Bunny's book club pick for the month of September, in which was Such Sharp Teeth. I have a full spoiler-filled vlog full of my thoughts, in which is there if you would like to read it and watch it and discuss with me, then please go ahead and do so. But to summarize in themes, I have werewolf, friends to lovers, past trauma, family and friendship, slightly cringe and funny, but also so character filled and easy to devour. Yeah, you had to very much suspend your disbelief for this book. As I really discovered quite quickly, and I felt as though a lot of it was very reminiscent and very nostalgic to me of Twilight. I don't know why. I don't know if it was that werewolf aspect in there, but it felt just very cringeworthy in the best nostalgic way, and I just devoured it. I loved it. As once I suspended my disbelief, I thought the characters are great, the concept was funny, how it was acted out, and the kind of resolution, I guess, was somewhat predictable but understandable, as that was kind of the only answer, I suppose. And I had fun with it. I had a really good time. That is all of my books in the good tier. I just realised I never said my mediocre books. This is supposed to be from worst to best. So let's say my one mediocre book that I read this month, and which was The Terrors of the Night. This had ghosts, demons and nightmares come alive and darker corners of the human experience. Again, this was a little black classic. I don't feel as though I can say too many themes in this one because I don't want to spoil it, because it is so short, and I feel as though you definitely have to read it to get that full experience and that full effect of these themes. But this one did slightly go over my head in comparison to ᴏᴘᴘᴇ Beneath the Cherry Trees. I understood that one a lot more in comparison to this one, and found this one quite a bit more intellectual, and a lot of the word that it used was quite complex in its nature, and the kind of themes that it was edging towards I didn't really understand, and it didn't translate very well for me. So yeah, that is my thoughts on it, but you might love it and you might find it fun. It could be one to read around the spooky season for certain. Sorry to flip-flop between the different tiers. I think you can tell I'm not very well based on the fact that I've gone from worst to best to worst, or whatever order I did that one in. Moving on to the best of the best, which is my great tier. I have two books in this tier. First of all, we have The Ballad of Never After, in which you can tell how outdated my wrap-up is because I've already read the third book, and this is book 2. I read that in getting over a book hangover, because I was trying to get over a book hangover of this book, because this is book 2 in a Castle True Love series, and I must say I understand that series now. The hype for it, the admiration, the love for it. It is so good. It is so good. Now, having read all 3, I know at this stage, doing my September wrap-up, I technically haven't, but because this is delayed and I have read all 3 now, I understand it so well. So the themes I wrote down for this is book 2 in a series, gripping and action-packed, ends on a cliffhanger, love, family, friendship, balls and fairy tales, fast-paced and easy to binge read. I don't want to go into much more detail than that, because obviously I don't want to spoil anything with it being the second book in a series, but I just felt like this book and the series gets better and better. I think book 2 is my least favourite in the series. I adore book 1, and book 3 has my heart. Book 2, I just always get like that with trilogies. I don't know why. I feel as though for me it just did feel a bit like a filler, but I understand why, because going from book 1 to 3, how the characters have grown and how the story is developed and the ending and the resolution, I understand why we needed a book 2. But I find always reflecting, once I've finished trilogies or series, the middle books aren't necessarily always my favourite. Yeah, I think I just love the resolutions and the action packed and the character development and just getting from A to B rather than the journey, I suppose. But yeah, I think at the time I definitely would have said book 2 is my favourite, having not read book 3. So yeah, those are the themes. I highly recommend it. If you haven't yet read it, I'd be immensely surprised, because I know this is insanely popular, but I loved it so very much. Then the final book I have to speak to you about today, and the last book in my great tier, is Will Prescribe You a Cat. Oh my goodness, this is so wholesome, and as you know, or if you didn't know, I adore cats and kittens. I have 3 of my own, and so this really hit home and hit my heart. And so it had themes of translated Japanese fiction, cats and their ranging of personalities, an array of feelings, sadness, longing and happiness, ambiguous snippets into people's lives, simple and grounded in reality with wholesome notes and quick to read. Yeah, the ending was very ambiguous, in which I love and hated at the same time, because you followed these characters and these cats and got very attached to them, and also the whole concept of this book was ambiguous, and I still haven't come to a resolution as to what it was. I feel as though it was very much on the page, but I just did not understand it, and I feel like I need it spelled out for me. At the end, you're kind of given like an Easter egg, I suppose, as to what's been going on this whole time. But I just didn't get it, and maybe that's just a me problem. Probably is. So if you understood it, maybe let me know without trying to spoil everyone else. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, light-hearted, wholesome, had those other core and true feelings, in which I feel as though Japanese and Korean writers are so good at embedding into their novels, and I've just never read anything like it, because they just take mundanity and they take feelings and they just make it beautiful and make it mesmerizing, but it hits you in such an impactful way, and I think it was just absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I really adored this book. I read it in almost one sitting, I think, and yeah, so much fun. Again, there is a vlog of me reading this one if you're interested. So those are all of the books I read in September. Sorry this was so chaotic and messy. I will not be doing it belated again, hopefully. That's probably why, because it's currently the 13th of October. Anyway, I hope you still enjoyed and you're watching if you even care about what I read in September. Now we're in October. I watch these wrap-ups to get book recommendations, not necessarily to see stats or how many books people read or what they read. Yeah, I just more get it for book recommendations. So yeah, thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope that wherever you are or whatever you're doing, you have a wonderful day or night. And until next time, friends, bye!